In this example, we're going to algebraically determine if a function is an even function, an odd function, or neither of those. First, let's recall what it takes to be even. For a function to be even, we need f of negative x to equal f of x for all x in the domain of f. And to be odd, we need f of negative x to equal negative f of x for all x in the domain of f. So as we look at each of these, we can see that we've got to compare f of negative x for both of them. So that's the first thing that we're going to find. Now here we have our function f of x, and it's defined by the opposite of, and then we have the quantity 2x cubed minus x divided by the quantity 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. So let's find f of negative x. And I'll keep that negative sign out front. And now in the numerator, I'm going to have 2 times the quantity negative x raised to the third minus a negative x. And in that denominator, I'll have 3 times the quantity negative x raised to the fourth plus 5 times the quantity negative x raised to the second power. As we go to simplify that, we'll keep the negative out front, and then we'll simplify the numerator. And the numerator will give us negative 2x cubed plus x. And the denominator will give us 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. So let's continue simplifying f of negative x. To do so, the easiest thing will be to look at this negative out front and to work with it as a coefficient of negative 1. So we have the opposite of this expression. We can work with that as negative 1 over 1 times this rational expression we have on the right. So we'll have negative 1 over 1 times then this negative 2x cubed plus x over 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. And when we multiply that through, in the numerator we'll get 2x cubed minus x, and that denominator will be 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. Now as we look at that expression, we can see pretty quickly that that's not the same as our original f of x. So we can state at this point that as f of negative x does not equal f of x, the function f is not even. Now, we still need to look at whether or not this function is odd. And we can intuitively look at this and see that f of negative x, if I multiplied that by a negative 1, it should be the same as my original f of x. If we don't see that intuitively, then we can write that out fully. So let's figure out negative f of x and fully simplify that just to make sure. So we'll take the opposite, I'll put that negative sign out, and then we've got a negative sign out front again, and we've got in that numerator 2x cubed minus x. And in that denominator, we have 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. And now looking at these, we have a negative sign outside that expression and another negative sign outside that rational expression. So if we look at those as coefficients, we have a coefficient of negative 1 times a coefficient of negative 1, which will just multiply out to positive 1. So when this simplifies, we're going to have 2x cubed minus x in that numerator and 3x to the fourth plus 5x squared. Now the key here is that these two are the same. So as f of negative x is equal to negative f of x, this means the function f is odd.